Most leaders don't fail because they lack vision. They fail because they never build what they see. They get 3 or 4 years down the road running a business that they hate, chasing somebody else's charisma, somebody else's secret sauce, somebody else's plan. Because deep down they think everyone else has it more figured out than they do. What if you didn't have to learn that the hard way? What if you could design the blueprint from the start, your blueprint? In 2020, this was me, and it's the reason I'm here today. I had 5 organizations, 3 businesses, a nonprofit, and a church. They all worked beautifully together for the most part, but I was really busy and really exhausted. And every single one of those, when COVID hit, I had to weigh whether or not I wanted to fight, really fight to keep them. After a year of shuttering in 2021, I felt like I couldn't fight for them anymore, and I needed to close them down. And so that's what I did. And it was devastating. Everything I had built 15 years building was gone in the blink of an eye. But today it's better. I'm Tamara V, and this is the Creators Incubator podcast, where we talk about building real solutions, not just business solutions, inspired ones, the ones only you and God and your experience were meant to build. And it comes out of seasons of lessons that I have experienced over the years and discovered where I can hopefully serve you better and help you maybe not have to go through some of the things that I went through as a young entrepreneur, not really understanding the kinds of hiccups you would see along the way. I've spent over 20 years selling and developing my own businesses and real estate solutions, and I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs and startups build theirs through incubator experiences. That has given me a front row seat to a lot of success, but also a lot of failures across business, nonprofits, ministries, even government. And those patterns show up again and again, whether it's wrong partners, wrong solutions, or that quiet lie that someone else's plan is better than your own. In 2013, I opened a co-working space as one of the businesses that I had. I've always been a real estate broker for over 20 years. And we opened incubator and accelerator programs. I watched small business leaders close their doors because of the realization that the leader was launching someone else's model. And I watched this happen over and over again. That gut feeling that you get when you know this isn't the version of a business or organization that really you wanted to build, that you really wanted to build. And then the realization, as we got better at incubation, that much of what people were experiencing by way of failure could have been prevented. Over time, here's what I've learned. It all comes down to 3 things: the leader, the solution, and the plan. In that order, by the way. That's why I decided to take this incubator virtual and online to help you create, refine, and grow your business, your nonprofit or your ministry, and to give you the tools to get intentional about your leadership, your solution, and your blueprint. So that when you're ready to take it online, you can multiply it and build the income, influence, and impact that you've always actually wanted to build, not the version you inherited from someone else. So here's how the show is going to work. Each week, I'll break down one of these 3 topics: leader, the solution, or the plan, in the first half of the episode. In the second half, we're going to bring real ideas into the Creators Incubator and pressure test them live, like you would in a real business incubator. An incubator is a designed experience built to extract your idea and pressure test the solution against real world assumptions and outcomes. It's other trusted leader speaking into your plan, not just testing your assumption, but helping you break your own limiting beliefs and build something sharper, faster than you could build alone. The incubator process allows these things to come out in real time as you're processing your idea and your assumptions and the reasons that you want to do things certain ways. Not intended to change the way you do you, but intended to help you consider what ways might work better for you. The process is focused on you as opposed to a system or a plan or a model that we're pushing or wanting you to follow. One thing we're not going to pick apart in this particular incubator that we do sometimes in a regular incubator is we're not going to discuss in detail unique value propositions and give away people's full ideas and IP. The internet is ruthless and early IP deserves protection, as we all know. What we do want to do, though, is bring honest, constructive feedback from you. We're hoping the audience as well. Feedback that helps a founder launch, grow, and succeed. There's 2 types of incubators that we have run in the past and will be running through the Creators Incubator YouTube and video podcast. One is called a breakthrough incubator. That's really focused on the ideas and helping you break through to the things that will help you bring a better solution. But the leadership incubator model is that same version, only around people. In those scenarios, as we're working with a person to break through their leadership role or something that's stopping them in leadership, we will actually incubate the person as opposed to the idea. You'll see both in action. Just wanted to give you that up front, though, so you understand what we're working on. Consider if you want to apply to bring your idea onto the show or you need help incubating your own solution, the link is in the description for you to do this, and I'll talk about it a little more later. But please feel free to complete that, and we'll respond back right away. So number one thing that we found was the leader is the number one reason businesses fail or an organization fails. So today we're going to start with that first piece, and I'm going to lay out the 3 pieces and how that will work as we go along in the incubator. So the first thing is the leader, you. Most people build something new, or most people who are building something new want to skip straight to the idea because ideas are fun, but most leaders don't fail for lack of vision. They fail because they build the wrong thing or they build it in a way that burns them out, which means it was not in line with who they are. And the data backs this up. If you hate what you're building, you typically walk away from it within 2 to 3 years. In our first incubator that we ran in 2013-ish, we had a young woman who had completed retirement. Remember, retirement doesn't necessarily mean age. You can retire from multiple companies, but she had retired from a company. And she took that retirement and bought a business with it, something that she thought she would enjoy. She made a couple of assumptions that were wrong, and we all make mistakes when we do that, like she didn't look as close maybe to the books and how they were creating income, what the hours of the business were, and things like that. So those were things that became, they strangled her a little bit as she went along. She struggled with. But the real thing, the real crux of what she had a problem with was that she really didn't like what she was doing. And she thought that all businesses created money. And so not only did she not like it, but she wasn't even creating an income from it. It wasn't even something she could just push through. And so as we went through the incubator, tears started welling up in her eyes. And she said, I really don't want to do this anymore. Eventually, we helped her adjust that business so that it was making money. She was able to sell it to someone else. And then she was able to close it and move on so that she could build the thing that she really wanted to build. So before we talk about what you're building, answer these with me. What skill set have you developed that gives you energy, that you could do all day, every day, and never get tired of? And I would encourage you not to think about just business skills. What skills do you have within your family dynamic or your church or your sports or your school that you're in? What are the things that you really love to do? And by the way, try writing these down as we're going along, because you will come back to them later. Usually whatever comes to you first is the thing that you might be the best at. Would you rather create something, build it, sell it, build a team around it, or teach it? Let me say that again. Would you rather create something, build it, sell it, build a team around it, or teach it? Do you naturally lead in group settings, or do you prefer to follow? What sector of culture fits you best? Do you enjoy business, government, entertainment, media, faith, healthcare, family, education, community development, maybe international endeavors of some sort? And do you have a why? Is there something that gets you up in the morning and causes you to do work over and over and over again, even on the hard days? And then here's the question that no one ever asked me. Is that conviction strong enough that if someone tried to take it from you, you would fight for it? The number 2 thing is the solution. I'm giving you an overview here, just as this channel starts to be developed, what it's going to look like. The solution, now that we've talked about you, is the idea. This step is called ideation in the incubator. And here's the first mistake almost everyone makes. They fall in love with an idea before checking whether it's actually a problem that needs to be solved. So the question isn't, what's my idea? It's, what problem does this actually solve for someone real? Let me put my professor hat on for a moment and talk about a few businesses that will bring an idea to your head right away. What do you picture in your mind or think when I say Dunkin' Donuts? Dunkin' Donuts set out and still sets out to build or to bake the best donuts and to make the best coffee. That's their focus. That's their vision. That's what they want to do. What problem does that solve? Food and drink on a most basic level that we all love. How about Starbucks? You might think they're the same, but they're not. Starbucks, actually, their what we call unique value proposition, was to create an experience. They wanted to create a place where, yes, they would have coffee and yes, they would have pastries, but they really wanted to create a place where people could come and have meetings and be in a community with each other, read a book if they wanted to, be able to sit for as long as they could without being kicked out. That was their original vision. 2020 messed that up a little bit because they had to close their doors for a while. People couldn't come in and sit in those places, and they now have every coffee under the sun, which we all love. Everybody's got their Starbucks order, but you get what I mean. Those are two different problems, two different solutions, two different markets that they cater to. How about Apple computers versus Dell? Very different audiences. Not that they're mutually exclusive. Yes, they both have computers that do a great job. Apple computers are all integrated with their phones and all of their other products, their iPads, etc. Dell, on the other hand, really wanted to create the best computer, and that's what they're each focused on. Because we incubate leaders too, how about Simon Sinek? If you don't know Simon Sinek is the why guy. That's what he's known for. If you haven't watched his videos, you should. And Simon Sinek is a thought leader, and he teaches you how to find your why, amongst other things. And then there's John Maxwell. And John Maxwell is focused on writing books. That's the way he teaches. He comes up with frameworks, and he trains other people to be corporate trainers. They both have some similarities, but they do it in very different ways, and they solve different problems for different audiences, and they do it with different products. There's a book that I love called The E-Myth. Now it's been around long enough, called Revisited, The E-Myth Revisited. That book talks about the difference between being a baker versus a bakery manager versus a bakery owner. I don't really have to go into it too much to help you see the distinction between the three. But before you start a business, if you love baking, you might not love managing bakers, and you might not love being a bakery owner. But that is the natural progression of what it looks like to start a business and move through it. It doesn't mean you have to do it that way, but you can create a business up front that fits you better, maybe. There's way more to the process of business incubation than this, and we will go into some more topics along the way. But as you narrow down to one problem and one solution with no more than 3 parts, because by the way, every part that you choose, every solution that you choose is a different business unit. It becomes a lot of work along the way. So one problem, one solution, preferably one part to it. You'll also be shaping unique value proposition, your audience, how you'll fund or monetize it, and how to actually intend to sell it. Those are all part of the blueprint, which we'll get to next in regards to your solution. So the number 3 thing then is the plan. And finally, the blueprint. This is how you actually launch, build, pivot, grow the solution so that income, influence, and impact follows instead of you chasing it. And so a few questions to start with. Do you work best in 90-day sprints or slower environments where you can process at your own pace? Do you build best in a tight local community or in a bigger, more public spaces? What platforms do you already use? Do you already have a following? Do you have an existing database or a list that you're working from? What are your actual skills? Video tech, AI, speaking, writing, building courses, or training programs? How do you want to sell what you build? Do you want a full funnel, events, webinars, challenges? Are you trying to disrupt a category or start something small and build up? Full-time, part-time, creating more margin? Do you want to sell to one person? In other words, do you want to sell coaching, one-on-one coaching? Or do you want to produce something that you can sell to many people at the same time, like a course? We're going to go deeper into all of this in future episodes, but let me tell you why all of these things matter. They matter because if you don't do this along the way, you will lose yourself. Let me tell you, I'm speaking from hindsight amongst many, 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 many leaders. As I close this introductory video podcast, let me wrap it up in a bow. If you spent some time at all leading, you have inevitably hit a wall around a decision, a conflict, around successes or failures. If you, as the leader, don't have much of that worked out in your own self, which most of us don't, by the way, and I'm not suggesting you try to do all of that anyway, but whatever you don't have worked out before you step into your next venture, those are the types of things you're going to encounter repeatedly. I could name those things right now, but I'm going to not do it because I don't want to open up a whole bunch of podcast episodes here. But I will just tell you that whatever you have or have not worked out, you will face along the way. And so if we can do some of that now, and I can inspire you to maybe jump into some things that you never considered yourself capable of doing, that would be a lot of fun, and I would see that as success, and I hope that you would too. So there's the framework, the leader, the solution, the plan, in that order, because getting the order wrong is how most people end up building something that they hate. If you want to bring your idea to the Creators Incubator or you need help building your own, the application link again is in the description. If this episode gave you something to think about, please subscribe and share it. As a YouTuber and as a podcaster, I'm just getting started. So all of those subscriptions and likes and views are really, really helpful if you don't mind. And share it with someone else who might be stuck chasing someone else's plan instead of their own. The next time we're going to talk about your creator's advantage and what actually makes you different and why that matters more than you think. Thank you so much. See you next time. Tamara V., the Creators Incubator.